Instead of a spinner. And it's recording. So hello everyone, welcome to yet another cert-manager community meeting as we do every 2 weeks. If you have any agenda items, feel free to add them on the document. The link to the document is in the meeting invite or in the chats. You should all have added permissions as you are all in the cert-manager dev Google group. So just feel free to join in there and start editing at items at the bottom of the agenda. Oh,
welcome, James.
And welcome, James. And I clicked admit, but he's not yet joining. There he is. Hi, James. Now, today we have a special guest in our meeting, which is James, which used to be a regular in these meetings, so it's been a long time.
Yeah, I had a call finish early, so I could join. Otherwise, I was going to be joining at 5:30, which might have been a bit late. Hey, everyone.
Anyway, welcome.
Hello. Good to see some new faces as well.
Let me continue. So, James, if you have agenda items, add them to the Google Doc, as always. So the first item on the agenda is always hello and introductions. And we have somebody new joining today. Urba, welcome to your first cert-manager community meeting.
Thanks. Welcome.
Do you want to quickly introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Irbe. This is my first week with Jetstack. Before that, I used to work with Engineer Better. That was a London-based consultancy. I've done a lot of work with like deploying platforms for enterprises and like building tools in that sphere. So I'm like very excited to be joining Jetstack and like really excited about cert-manager.
Welcome to the community. In name of everyone, welcome.
Thanks.
We also have one other item on the welcome introductions and goodbyes. This is more a personal note. So this is my last community meeting and also my last week as a Jetstack employee working on cert-manager. I will be leaving Jetstack, but I will still be able to continue my work as a cert-manager maintainer under the CNCF, just as before, just in a different commercial entity, to say something like, how to express something like that, just not on the Jetstack. So I'll probably keep hosting these meetings as much as I can, unless I have, like James has, conflicting meetings. I will do my best to keep joining. Does anybody else have something to say or introduce themselves? I only see familiar faces. Well, to me anyway.
No, just welcome. Welcome as well. Did you say, how do I pronounce your name? Sorry, I don't want to get it wrong.
Irbe.
Irba.
Yeah.
I got it wrong then.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, you.
That's right.
That's
Irbe.
Irbe.
Yeah.
It's like welcome. In French, Maël.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't really have to say goodbye to Marsha. But yeah, I'm not even going to say it. That's all.
Has to join the queue of Jetstackers who need to have a leaving party.
Yeah, James, we need to have a leaving party together when all this pandemic is over.
A few more months, hopefully, huh? We'll see.
Let's hope for the best. Good. Since COVID is not the agenda, let's move on to the next point. As always, we give an update on what we're working on, and that's mostly a next release of cert-manager, which is logically kind of the thing what we do. So the next release is cert-manager v1.2.0, and I have the good news that we just released v1.0.2-alpha.1 to be long release names, which we just released with Maël and Irba joining as shadowing on the release team, making sure that the release team will continue to push out releases with enough knowledge how to do this. What is new in the release? Let me put my notifications away and try to open it. It's a very small release compared to other alphas, but we're building up So we now added CRD categories to our CRD manifest, which now allows you to quickly do kubectl get cert-manager and get everything what your cert-manager has been up to. We also added new flags, which has to do with leader election. We now also set the c.crt on secrets when the verify issuer, and we always install using admission registrations v1 now, which has to do with the Kubernetes deprecation plans. And that basically is new in Alpha 1. We're still not there, so this is not the last Alpha release which we'll do. We'll probably do one more and then the final release. We're kind of a bit behind on schedule. This is the end of January. But we're getting closer and closer to the release of v1.2. v1.2 won't be a big feature release, but it's a good cleanup release with deleting the old Kubernetes stuff and adding a few new fixes which were needed and a few small features, as discussed in previous meetings. I won't go over them again. So what is still open? Good news is almost every issue which we have been scheduled for the milestone is currently assigned, so it means it's currently worked on by somebody, which we hope to have finished soon. Kubernetes application just needs some documentation. Richard, how is the access token art going for TPP? Richard, are you here? Oh, hi.
Yes, I am here. Sorry much. We've changed tack. We're actually going to do it slightly differently. The access token, we have got the ability to use a long-lived access token, and I'm designing and planning a slightly different controller, which is going to work outside of cert-manager to manage the refresh token and update the access token for the open source TPP issuer.
Does it these changes inside our code base still?
No, they're going to be outside.
Okay, so we can actually close this issue and doesn't be blocking for the release then probably.
Sorry, I closed the PR, but I didn't close the issue. Sorry about that.
If you can do it, that's easier for us to track the PRs.
Yeah. Okay.
A few other bug fixes. I think there's only small bug fixes. So we're actually 70% there. Ignore the due by 12 days. I think I said the wrong date. I said mid-January, not end of January. So we're 72% there. Most of these already have PRs. And others are kind of small. Or I think this also has... Oh, this is PR itself. Yeah, so we're actually almost close there. If you can do reviews, both in the open source, both in the cert-manager team, please do so. So we hopefully can have the release out soon and can start thinking about v1.3, which of course also will come with moving everything to the CNCF organization instead of on the JetStack, which will probably delay v1.3 a bit by a few weeks. So that's everything in v1.2. Any questions, remarks, weird things you want to note about this?
Well, maybe I should. Well, James Munley's here.
Hi, James.
Hi. Nice to see you again, James. I wanted to talk. Can I talk now about the refreshing, or the updating of the status of issuers periodically? We had a discussion on a GitHub issue, and I'd said that my theory was that when we changed the Informer relisting period, which used to be 30 seconds, and we changed it to 10 hours. I thought that might have changed the behavior of cert-manager, because I assumed that 30-second relisting period was triggering the all of the reconcilers every 30 seconds. But I got that wrong. That's not. It was not doing it. It was relisting every 30 seconds, but the queue handler which we assign to the informers, actually does a deep equal comparison on the before and after. And when it's a simple relisting, the before and after are always the same. So it looks like the issuers were never periodically updating. The question, though, is, should they? Is it a good idea to have them refreshed? I still think it is, but it doesn't necessarily make sense for all issuers.
I think, given we're in a case where, in a situation where we didn't do it before, I mean, there is a time where we do it, which is upon the controller restarting.
Yeah.
If we are going to have a ready condition, I think we should periodically update it. But there is something to be said for the argument of we shouldn't have a ready condition in quite that same way, because, like, for a few reasons. One, how much value does it provide? I guess in the Let's Encrypt case, we've got the idea of like registered, and that is important. But it's also not absolutely required that we have a readiness condition in order to implement that. And actually right now we needn't even bother checking. We just look inside a cache of clients, and if it's not there, then we basically say we're waiting until it is there. It's also a bit of a flawed condition, because whilst something might be like ready in some regards, the token you're using may not say have permission to go and call the get certificate endpoint. If you look at the Vault issuer, you could very easily configure a Vault issuer to say like that says it's ready, but in reality you don't have permission to even hit an endpoint. We don't do a test in which we go and attempt to request a certificate. There's no end-to-end verification. So I think the question really is we need to think carefully around what's needed, but then also what the meaning of those things that we add is. And I think ready right now for issuers is very, very loosely defined. I don't think it's particularly clear what it means.
And it actually makes, so if the certificate request controller stops processing the certificate request because the issuer isn't ready, it just stops, it just says the issuer isn't ready, and the user is left to have to go digging around in the issuer, as opposed to actually it failing with something meaningful like an expired token or a connection failure.
Yeah, I think like a truer representation of like readiness would be, is there a client in the like in-memory cache of things in cert-manager to go and talk to that particular issuer's provider? But even then, that's first of all not really very useful. It's also quite likely to be wrong, because when a controller restarts, it's never really going to set that to false, because it's just going to go and configure a client, unless it's really, really horribly malformed, say like you're missing an API key in secret. That's where you would see it. I wonder if we could actually boil this down to a few more focused conditions that maybe aren't really observed by our controllers or paid much attention to by our controllers, but they're more informational for users. So it could be like account registered, for example. Like registered could be a condition type for an Acme one, in which we say like true for does the account exist, and can we talk to it. I think that's like truer to life in terms of what it all means. And then the controllers themselves can log actual useful messages when they encounter, you know, if they attempt to go and take an action and they can't do it, or if the client doesn't exist in that cache, they can say
the counterpoint. So it means the certificate request controller may post less useful information when it fails in the case the issuer isn't ready. But the other point I thought of is that the certificate may not be renewed for some months, for example, but unless you're having the issuer regularly, the status of the issuer regularly updated gives you advanced warning of misconfigurations.
Yeah, and I think having like a ping, like not with the name ping, but almost like some kind of a account still registered. That's why like account registered in the Acme case, for example, I would say we should be periodically checking or account verified, or like account exists maybe is the name of the condition, and then we are periodically checking.
Like I found that the TPP issuer it doesn't even check the credentials because it uses a thing called, it uses a vCert API called ping, which doesn't actually authenticate to the TPP server.
Right.
So your credentials may be wrong and the issuer will be telling you everything's ready. So that's another.
I guess the only instance that I can think of where a readiness condition on an issuer is helpful, although you could say if the issuer, but the only instance I can think of that could be problematic compared to what we do today is if there is something up with it, every single certificate request is going to trigger a call to the Let's Encrypt API, say, instead of that initial account check, like the issuer switching itself to false and then everything stopping.
Yeah.
But I think we could probably get around that by effectively, when instead of the issuer controller today updating it to be false to then halt all things on the rare occasion where it does do that, as you've noticed, it could actually just remove that client from its internal cache of clients. So then all the other controllers will basically say, oh, well, I can't actually make any requests because it doesn't exist in that cache, the client isn't available, and then that trigger the user to go and inspect the issuer, in which we could then have some more detailed, like a condition there being like account not registered or something. That's actually specific to Acme as well. So we don't then have one overarching definition of ready, or we could then add a definition of ready, which is it exists in the cache. So it's ready to attempt to issue certificates.
So does the Acme issuer maintain this pool of clients then?
Yeah, and I think
that.
the Vault issuer does that as well. And we basically view issuers as a configuration source. Like the one issuer maps to a single client configured in an in-memory cache. So then when that issuer changes, like that particular cache item is updated, or if it's deleted, it will be removed from there. And that allows for things like where this came about initially was Acme. The Acme client uses nonces on each request, so that you have to, you initially request a first nonce, and then for each subsequent request, you can know what nonce to use next, basically. Whereas previously we were constructing a new client each time, which meant every single call to any endpoint, we'd call the new nonce endpoint on Let's Encrypt's API, or the Acme API, which obviously was quite noticeable because it doubled the number of requests roundabout.
Right.
And that typically works as quite a nice model, because even HTTP clients to like a TPP server, that is ultimately, that could be one single connection held open for a long period of time, or basically whatever's negotiated with the server when the HTTP client connects. So I think stricter definitions, I think stricter definitions for what each condition actually means, and definitely considering, definitely keeping those up to date as well. So without a doubt, your original question of should we be updating them, I think yes, but I also think we need a better definition for each of them, and maybe splitting out some bits into their own condition types.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Anything else on issue or condition types? Okay, then I continue. I have some good news. The cert-manager v1.1 OpenShift operator has been released to the OpenShift embedded operator app. Do I pronounce it correct, Jake? I see Jake laughing, trying to say something, but it's muted.
Do we have a link to this so we can check it out?
Yeah, Jake, do you have something?
I don't actually know, because the way you get to the operator hub is from your OpenShift admin panel, which is in each cluster. But
I remember having a link in the documentation, but I think it broke because they moved it.
Yeah, so I think I can link to our own repo, I guess. But anyway, this is only a quick note because it released right after the last community meeting, so just in case some people didn't know it yet. And subsequent releases should be much quicker because we had the blocker was a bug inside Red Hat's own build pipeline, which got fixed just after Christmas.
So, Jake, are you just saying you got engineers at Red Hat to look at your bug over Christmas?
Yeah.
Oh. Okay. I think that's the last note on the agenda. Nobody added something. Does somebody want to still add something in the community meeting, or shall I'll give you some time back of your evening?
I haven't got anything in particular.
Oh,
Nothing from me, I don't think.
same.
But thanks, March. Say thanks for. It's been nice working with you at JetStack. I'm looking forward to continuing the work in the open source. Good luck with the teaching and all the stuff you're going to be doing.
Thank you. You're doing my best.
Yeah, see you on the other side.
It kind of feels like an end of an area to me. It's like the end of what is the last year. Well, not the last year, as the terrible year 2020 was. I mostly enjoyed the times that we were able to go to the office, even though it's only once. Meeting James, not even. Oh wait, I did meet Josh. I'm pretty sure I met Josh. Oh well.
Yeah, I think so.
But not
I
James.
think we will.
Not Richard. That was. Yeah. It feels like it was 10 years ago, but it was actually just 1 year ago. It feels like 10 to me.
Yeah, it's very weird to think. It is very weird to think we've only actually met once.
Yeah. I mean, I was in the stand this morning and I was like, I haven't met any of you except one. And I've been working with you day in, day out for the past year.
I've so
It's
far
weird.
met 0 of my new colleagues, so
Yeah.
yeah. That's
Oh yeah. I at least got to see
Jose,
some of
have
my
you-
colleagues, so. Sorry.
I was going to ask Jose, have you got anything you'd like to discuss while you're here?
No, not in particular. I'm actually double booked, so I'm about to drop out. But I just joined. My apologies. I'm always double booked at this hour. But no, nothing in particular. I just like to join. I work with cert-manager a little bit at internally at Red Hat. So yeah, I just like to participate, see what's going on, follow the development train, and go from there.
Great, thanks.
Always
Thanks.
welcome.
All right, thanks everyone. I'm going to say cheerio. See you online.
Goodbye.
see you later.
Yeah.
Bye.
Cheers, everyone.
Take
Bye.
care.
See you later.
Just stop the recording. How do you stop the recording? Oh, now this isn't the recording. How to stop the recording?